Hello, everybody, and welcome to Top Draw, our next episode about Infinity Wars, which you can see are the logos above our head. This time, we're actually talking about design and innovation. However, there's a whole bunch of stuff we need to cover before we go there. Yes, again, as a reminder, we are YouTube only for this show. The rest of our shows you can catch on Twitch at twitch.tv/MMOBuff. So, first off, Marsh, it's you.
Hi! As always, we have broken the rules of time, space, and physics. Stephen Hawking's head has officially exploded, and we are here together once again.
Why are you trying to discover one of the founders of modern-day physics?
I'm not trying to discover him, I'm trying to blow him up.
I mean, destroy, not discover.
Just destroy. I'm not trying to destroy him. Just think of all the brilliant things we'll learn from the malleable pieces of brain we find.
Wow. Although, as a side effect, since we're both Doctor Who fans, the new Doctor Who is out and we're both excited. But we're not going to get into that in this show.
So.
No, although we do fold space-time and we do crazy things, including pizza box deliveries through time and space. Today, we are going to, like I said, be tackling innovation and design. Now, we have had some comments from our previous show, and I want to make certain to tackle them. But I'm going to first explain what this show is going to be about. So when it comes to innovation and design, what we're looking at Infinity Wars is we're investigating the graphic and mechanical fidelity of the game. We are looking at what makes it different and how well they're actually implementing it in its current state. It's important to state that because anytime you record something, someone could find it 3 months later and go, yeah, but it's not like that now. Well, trust me, as of wow, as of August 26th, which is when we're doing this recording, this is as factual as we can get it. And what we're looking at are the artistic things. We're looking at mechanical uniqueness. We're also looking at the effects that these things have on gameplay. So that's what we're really going to be digging into. But this is going to be one of those unique episodes. This is where I'm going to talk to Dr. Marsh for a little bit. And then I'm going to be playing a game with a member of the community later in talking to them about some of the concerns that we have and some of the concerns that they have from a community perspective. So our uniqueness in today is the fact that we've got 2 comments that we want to address. Those comments will be appearing down here because we want to make certain that we address any questions that anyone has brought to us. Unless someone decides to bring us 5 million questions from a show, we're going to do our best to tackle any comments that we have received on YouTube. So let's start off with one of the first.
If we get 5 million comments from the same person, 5 million questions, it's teacher voice. Which question would you really like to ask? Are you sure you can't group those questions together into one bigger question? Wow. No, I will get it out at some point.
You're an amazing teacher.
No, you are not allowed to rip that I will get it out at some point thing. No. I already know where your mind's going with that.
Marsh knows me too well.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on.
Moving on. So what we're going to do is, like I said, as we go through these questions and the comments, you will see your name down here with your question in its entirety because we feel that everyone has a right to its full voice. One of the first questions that we got after we put this up was from somebody who was named as Batmart, Battmrt, and as you can see, it's down here. You want a topic to discuss? Infinity Wars will be released in a week and a half, September 3rd. The game is ready to lose its beta status, or at least the developers think so. What do you think about that? Wow. Okay. Marsh and I are concerned, to put it blunt. We were talking about this before we started recording. There are several bugs that are still in the game, and yes, I know bugs are one of the things they're currently going to address with this latest and final iterative release. But there's more to it than that. So I'm going to let Marsh speak for a little bit, and then I'm going to also add my concerns. So your response to the Batman.
To the Batmart.
To the Batmart.
To the Batmart. Oh, no,
it's like a place you go to buy your special suit. If you're Batman, it's the Batmart.
Yeah, pretty much. The Batmart. Anyway, look, as most people, as anyone who follows the show since we started doing Infinity Wars, I am a huge fanboy of any Australian developer because I think we need more of them. And these guys are really good and really focused on, drumming up business to start with, and the community stuff and all that, and love it. However, beta is it's sort of your safety net, isn't it? Like, you need if you don't feel like your game is 100% ready, you need that beta tag. No questions at all. If it's not if you don't feel it's 100% ready, you keep the beta tag, because there's no real harm in it. However, that being said, they must feel that they don't require that beta tag anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I have some concerns with that, because the second that beta tag goes, I am holding this game up to the same standards that I hold all fully released games, not just card games,
Magic the
all
Gathering
games.
Online, Hearthstone, and that's not just the TCGs. We'd actually hold it to the same credences that we'd hold other games, like be it Mass Effect or Binding of Isaac or any other of the big games that are out there that have no release tag to it. Yeah.
Pseudo throws Binding of Isaac in there because she knows I have over 600 hours played on that game.
You do?
And have done Platinum God at least 3 times at this point. However, yeah, that's my point. Like, it always comes down to me that why should I play this game over something else? Recently, it's Binding of Isaac. So my comparative is, why should I play this game over Binding of Isaac? And, you know, once you lose that beta tag, I get a lot more critical. I really do, and it's part of human nature, I feel. Once you realize that, you know, once you realize that a person has said, no, I'm perfect, I don't make mistakes anymore, which is effectively what taking that beta tag off does. You say, no, this is something, this is ready for release, this is a product. This is a product. This is something you should be able to go to the store and buy, in the product sense of things. Once you buy that product, you're expecting it to be exactly what it says on the tin.
Absolutely.
And is this game, is Infinity Wars exactly what it says on the tin right now? And I feel, as it stands right now, as I'm looking at my screen, no. When it comes to bugs, definitely not, thanks to the stuff we talked about last week. But that could be, you know, you could fix those, but if you've got a scheduled release, then you fix those. What if more bugs come up, and so forth and so on? But also, I feel, you know, you don't even have I know it's the little thing, but you don't even have the campaign hard and insane modes yet. Like, they've been locked since I've been playing it. I haven't seen them. What if the AI for them ends up horrible? What if, you know, the version of insane is just way too insane? You know, they have 8 billion HP. You know, it's all those little things where if the game gets released, you don't have the sort of the fallback and just go, oh, my bad, sorry.
Well, see,
we'll fix it.
This is partially one of the things that I agree with, and I also have a slight disagreement with. I agree with the fact that the moment you remove the beta tag, you're held to a much higher standard and accountability for your game. However, at the same time, in today's day and age, games are supposed to be iterative. So when is the right time to take off that beta tag? In all honesty, no game should ever take their beta tag off if that's the case, because they're always going to be in a state of transition and flux. And it's up to people like us to remind the community that games change. You know, there is always going to be something new coming out, something a little different. I mean, hell, even if you look at Hearthstone that came out of beta status, they still had updates that fixed bugs. And it's the same thing with some of the other games that are out there. You know, just because you come out in a release status doesn't necessarily mean everything is 100% ready. That's a risk that the development company has to willingly take on. Now, I know for a fact from somebody who I've spoken to, who I'm really hoping to have in this show, we'll see how the timing goes, there's a concern in the community. They don't believe it's ready. They don't believe that the game is at a point where it should go out. And my dog wants to go out. So my dog's going out, just like the game wants to. But what ends up happening for me is, you know, we have to understand that even if a game removes its beta tag, it is still always going to be in a statement of flux, especially a TCG, because one of the things you expect once a game goes live in a TCG, new packs, new cards, a whole bunch of other things. So you have different editions, different iterations, etc. And those things, do they need to have their own private beta testing server, or do you throw it out there and just go, let's see what happens with the metagame? And I think that's where the TCG side of things, I can understand them wanting to go to the live status because it could change things dramatically. But at the same time, I'm kind of hesitant about them losing that beta status for several reasons, which we'll be bringing up in the innovation and design section of the show later today. So to give you an idea, our personal opinion on this, we're worried. We are worried.
I feel I just need to clarify one thing. It's, yes, I think you're right that games, obviously, no, I don't even think you're right. I know you're right that games are iterative. And this is something we both agree on. But I feel as though if you're promoting something as content within your game and it's not there during the beta, but you have it there displayed for in the release, it feels as if I'm only getting half a game. Like if Infinity Wars comes out in a week and a half and I go into campaign and I've still got locked for hard mode and insane mode, I feel as though, where's the other half of my game? Where's the other half of my campaign? Sort of thing. And, it's campaign, whatever, but still, you sort of have that, well, why is this game out if it's unfinished? That, to me, screams unfinished.
Okay.
Whether it screams it to other people.
Now, see, I agree with that. There's something to be said about holding content for release. In fact, as an example, WildStar did it. They didn't even let out on the beta servers anything involving the Drusera quest lines. And that only became available for people when the game went live. Obviously, there was internal testing. And yeah, even post-launch, there were bugs in those quest lines because the community didn't get a chance to really ravage it and test it. But in the end, when it comes to a TCG, I expect a TCG to have certain things in it, and I expect it to have certain functionality. And we will, as you will see later in the show why I don't think it's ready. But if it is ready, then these things should have been fixed.
Agreed.
And that's something we'll get to. But I don't want to spend too much time because we have yet another comment that I definitely want to tackle into this. So thank you very much, Batmart, for getting in touch with us about that. And yeah, this is one of those concerns that we have. One of the reasons why I like reviewing games in beta or previewing them is really the better way to put it, is because we have the ability to have a say and know that developers may already know about these concerns or not. But the moment a game removes that tag of, hey, beta, that's when I start putting on the, well, why didn't they fix this? Instead of, they have an opportunity here to fix this. It's one of those, they should have known. Why didn't they know? And that's a lot more harsh a criticism than the way we're looking at the preview of Infinity Wars in its current state. So thank you again. Now for our next comment. I love this comment. First off, I love anyone who is willing to step up to the plate and disagree with us. I also love anyone who's willing to show their point of view and express it in a manner that I think is incredibly articulate, which is why you will see this entire thing down here below. This is from Euphonix, and this was given to us on YouTube. And the comment says, because in the last episode, we were talking about draft versus construct, and we spent a lot of time on draft because it's one of the richest areas for us in the gameplay experiences for TCGs. And we were talking about the frustration we had with the commander picks and some of the other problems we had with the game. But he stresses, I think it's a he. If it's not, I do apologize. But he says, commanders in draft are always one rare, one uncommon, and one common. The order is random. The faction purities are reliant on what you choose for your first and second commander. So the choices are extremely varied, but there is still a structure there. I know you guys may not be the most experienced at the game, but there's a lot of misinformation here. Viewers beware. So that is the full comment from Euphonix. Now I'm going to let Marsh speak first, and then I will continue from behind Martian. So.
Step one. Thank you. Actual critical feedback on the internet that doesn't tell people to go die in a fire, basically.
Exactly.
That never happens. Well, this could have turned into a giant green-eyed rage monster, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And ultimately the only way we're going to improve is to get the feedback from you guys.
Both good and
There's only
bad.
so much we can do ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that. Yeah, we got it wrong. End of the day, we've rechecked, and you do get one rare, one uncommon, one common, and it's random. And thank you for bringing it to our attention. The point I want to make here, 2 points actually. One comes down to we never pretended at any point or implied, or at least I hope we didn't imply at any point, that we have a grand experience with Infinity Wars. We pick up a game for 5 weeks, we play it to death, and then we move on. I'm a card player, Pseudo's a card novice, basically. We just take our experiences, what we see, and we relay them to you with our perspective. You can take it or leave it, but it's just what we feel. We do this because, we love it.
Well, we do this because we want to see TCGs be exceptional. Yeah. We want to see the TCG genre online improve, grow, and become amazing. We want to see it successful. That's actually the real crux behind TopDraw.
Yes.
But yes.
And saying that, we're gonna make mistakes when it comes to the very, very core mechanics of stuff, because I look at this and go, best pick, and so forth and so on when I draft. So I don't see rarity as much as I see what the card is, what the card does. And having said that, not all rares are created equal, as we all know. So just because something's common, for those Magic players, we will go with the example of Skull Clamp, and I'll leave that there. So if you're a Magic player, you know what I mean.
In fact, just for fun, I'm going to put that card right between you and I.
Okay.
So people can see
it. There's 1,000 examples, there'd have to be, of things where just because it's a rare doesn't mean it's good, and just because it's a common doesn't mean it's bad. So just because, yes, you do get a rare, a common, and an uncommon, my point wasn't the fact that that you don't get everything in your commanders. My point was that there is so much randomness that I feel as though it detracts from your ability to build a decent deck as often as possible. It was, sure, like, my current draft, we will click my current draft, has the best common I could pick, which was Bad Bot.
You got Bad Bot?
Yeah, I got Bad Bot. And then the next one, best one I could pick, was the 2/6 Vigilance guy in green. And the last one was Orin, the 7 mana drop rare that you basically get rid of an artifact and you get another artifact. Now, that's not fantastic, but I can still make a deck out of that. If I get a decent amount of, cards, basically. If I get an okay set of cards in my 40 cards that I draft, I can still make a deck out of that. My point was, sometimes you get such a bad array because it doesn't feel as though there's any consistency to the cards that you can pick. You sometimes, and I'm not saying that sometimes you don't just get bad decks, but I feel as though it happens more often. And I'm not a statistics guy. Well, I am a bit of a statistics guy, but I'm not a huge statistics guy, so someone may do the math on this. But I feel as though in Infinity Wars, getting a bad deck has the possibility to happen a lot more often because of the way draft works and the game works being so tempo-based. And that was a lot of the crux. That was the crux of my argument.
Yeah,
that the randomness doesn't help at all.
The crux really comes down to the fact that because of the way that the game is structured, I completely agree. And apparently your phone agrees with me as well. Tempo is pretty much everything in this game. You miss one beat of tempo and you can almost guarantee a loss, at least from what I've played. Now, again, remember, I am one of those novice players, but, you know, it just feels so tempo based that trying to find the way to control your tempo when you're not given cards that help you do that. And commanders, they're one of the things I like about this game, and we'll get into the innovation and design in just a second, but I mean, I love the concept that they have, but it does feel Wild West instead of more structured. So it could be part of the implementation of how they've done it. It could be the fact that, like Marsh has pointed out, rares do not equal across the board. It doesn't work that way. In fact, in all honesty, in one of the shows we actually talked about it, it shouldn't work that way. There needs to be flux and there needs to be flexibility across the different types of cards. It's what makes a TCG so unique. But there's something about the feel of it that just feels too gung-ho, too out there and less wushu. It's a feeling that you get when you're playing with it. Now, again, it's a feeling that I get when playing, but you know, hey, anything is possible in this particular case for us. We could get something absolutely wrong, and I want to thank you so much for letting us know. Having feedback like that is incredibly important. But for us, it's not just, there doesn't feel like the structure is solid, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's really where our problem lies.
And that's where we would like it as players, not as hosts, not as, you know, card reviewers. As players, that's what we would like to see, which is essentially what this show is about. But may work for other people. It doesn't work for me, and that's what I was trying to say. I don't damn. Okay, occasionally I'll damn people, but I don't set out to damn anyone in my things. This is always our subjective experiences. But, you know, great on you for explaining something to us that we misrepresented, because it's essentially what we did. We took our subjective experiences and, you know, we said, this is what we're seeing, and we didn't double check it. And that was our bad.
Yeah.
And we're willing to cop to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you actually go back and you look at the previous episode now, there is going to be a banner across the entire episode that will link to this in specific, this section when we address your question, because it's a very valid one that needs to be made perfectly clear. And it's kind of hard to do retractions on YouTube.
Yeah,
so it's like, on November 4th, we mistakenly called a peanut a cantaloupe. We meant to call it, it doesn't kind of work that way.
Legume.
That's the thing. I saw some, it was in National Geographic, there was they recanted something from their previous magazine, or the previous edition, and it was something really silly like, we accidentally said that this thing was 27, it's actually 26. And I'm like, so you got one number wrong and you're fixing it. And I'm just like, that's kind of cool. But at the same time, you can't easily do that in this. It's not like we can give you errata text for your textbook, you know? So, to use school terms, because Marsh understands them. Yay!
Errata text doesn't exist anymore, as far as I'm aware, unless it's a British thing.
No, it still does. I still had, back when I was still doing my master's, every textbook I got came with a website that said, here's the errata text. It's supposed to say this. The question's supposed to be this.
Bad.
Oh, it drives me crazy. It's like, you should have checked it. This is a school book. But then again, it's also on the students, us, as well as the viewers, to be able to point out when there are fallacies or there are mistakes. And we have no problem owning up to them. So thank you very much.
No, we're not infallible.
No, we're not. We're not perfect.
And we don't pretend to be either.
Oh God, I am so far from perfect. It's not even funny.
You don't pretend to be. Let's put it that way.
No, you're the omnipotent, effervescent, effluvious, and all kinds of other great words that we can throw out at people.
I love the alliteration.
But yes, so thank you very much for getting in touch, and there you go. That's us handling that. So now we get to move into the concept where Marsh gets to sit back and take an education. This is where I actually get to teach Marsh about things. And it's interesting. Our first couple episodes, we've dealt with things like barrier to entry. We've dealt with introductory content, things like draft and constructed, which are all areas of expertise for the Marshmellows, the doctor that he is. But when we get into UI and design, that's where I step into the play. The only area that Marsh really gets to help out in this is in the innovation section, where we talk about what makes this game so innovative. And
so I have my coffee.
Well, there you go. And I have my water. Yay, water. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle a couple of things, but because of the fact that these guys have decided we're going to go gold, I'm going to go a little hardcore. So.
Sorry, guys.
It's one of those things. I'm walking that delicate line between here's some things you guys want to keep in mind, and here are some things you guys may not want to release without.
Hey, girls. There are girls on the internet, just saying. Guys and girls.
Okay, peoples.
The first thing you learn as a teacher, never say guys, always guys and girls. Or people.
Children.
Designers. Children's good. I like children.
Designers, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
This thing's full of sound bites. I'm not.
Yeah, our quick bite for this show is going to be rather interesting. That's for certain. But yes, all right. So let's start off with the very first thing that comes to mind. One of the things that I found rather interesting is it does appear that this is built in Unity. I say that because I saw some of the files that were coming in when I was downloading the beta, and I'm like, ooh, this is built on Unity, which I think is an exceptional thing. For those of you who are unaware of what Unity is, it is it's a development utility. It is literally a whole bunch of code that people can use to develop a game with. It is known as a game engine. So Unity is pretty darn awesome. It's one of the things that we love talking about a lot in another one of our shows, our Thursday show, which is independent developers talking development. And we bring up Unity a lot because each one of the developers on that show uses Unity because it's ease of access. It has an amazing community to help them build things, etc. Now, there's a couple of things to make mention of when it comes to a game in beta versus a game in live. Anyone who's ever been a part of a beta will tell you, oh, the graphics aren't what they need to be in beta. And the developers will always turn around and go, that's because we haven't optimized them yet. That's because we haven't run everything to clean up everything. It's just we want to make certain the functions work properly before we clean things up. Now, I'm going to tell you, as somebody who has been playing this game for quite a while now, and I'm going to pull this up here for you guys to see, the game itself looks exceptional. I mean, they've got a really good concept going here. So the graphics are not the problem. I mean, even if you were to go and look at the cards as I'm going through some of my card decks right now, there's moving animation on the cards. And I love that. And it looks 3D. I mean, I know somebody who actually plays with a 3D system, and, you know, this would be amazing to see in a 3D system. I mean, they're kind of funny looking because they wear the glasses and their screen is set up. It's just really weird. But anyway, graphically, this game looks clean. It looks crisp. It doesn't look like they need to go back and do too much to fix the graphics or fix the images or things like that. The problem for me, the load time to start the game hurts. It really hurts. I have an insanely decent system. I mean, I've got a gaming PC. It is an i7. It's running 8 processor type things. It's got 12 gigs of RAM that are a very specialized one. And my graphics card is a twin Frozen 2 from MSI, which is actually a NVIDIA card. This PC is running, you know, some of them. This PC is not running an SSD, it's running a Velociraptor, and this is running off my Velociraptor. A Velociraptor is an in-between a solid-state drive and a disk drive. That's the difference. It sits right in between the two. My problem is it takes a while to load, and then when it loads, the patching, you're reliant on the download. I don't have a problem with that. So far, that seems okay. My problem is when I go to log in as well. I log in, go, all right, I'm going to go check my mail. Oh, still logging me in. Okay, I'm going to go check Twitter. Oh, still logging me in. All of these things could have something to do with the fact that maybe the servers are based in Australia and I just have to suck it up because the sharks are eating the intertubes. right?
Yes, the sharks are indeed eating the intertubes in Australia, and it's hilarious.
Yes, but the load.
But to be honest, I have no idea where the servers are based. The servers may not, in fact, be based in Australia, but we'd have to check.
It's an assumption that we have to make, but in all honesty, it's a frustrating experience. The only other things that I really want to tackle on when it comes to at least the design side of things is they really, 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 really need to fix the draft deck UI. I'm going to constantly go back to that because to me, the profile, I like it. It's clear, it's crisp. You can figure things out very easily. You can find things. It's perfectly fine. Nothing is horribly difficult to use. It looks fine. And that's really what it is. It's fine. The thing that really stands out for me in this are the cards themselves. I mean, I like the announcements you get, and their store actually looks pretty decent. I like their concept for colors. I like their concept for choices. I like all of that. So it's no big deal. The problem for me is gameplay. They fixed their UI for the game itself when you're playing against somebody. Thank goodness, because if they hadn't have fixed that, I would have immediately smacked them upside the head and said, guys, seriously, we need a better UI for this. But they nailed it. Like I said in last week's episode, it's like they read my mind. They knew that I had a problem and I was going to comment on it, and they fixed it. However, not being able to, when I look at my draft, look at what my commanders are, I'm clicking on them. I see nothing. I can scroll through my deck this way, but all I see are pictures. I don't get a pop-up telling me what the card actually is. No. Seriously, no. This needs to be fixed in gold. Good.
The load time, yet again, between sections. So because you don't have to complete a draft, so you can swap off. But when you go from, like, let's say draft and click campaign, it takes forever to load. And then you go back from campaign to draft, and it takes forever to load. I'm like, it's a little thing. Once again, like, you gotta admit, we're nitpicking. We're starting to nitpick.
We're starting to nitpick because
and a bad sign at the same time.
Yes, we're starting to nitpick because like I said, there's not much I want to complain about when it comes to the UI. I mean, sometimes I can really get on a tangent. If you want to hear my UI issues and how bad I can get, you can watch the previous one we did on UI for a different game. But you know, for me, I see nothing wrong with how they have things set up. I like the change that they've made, and they've added another training mission since I last checked this. They've gone from zone types and they've added something known as the final test. All of that is fine. I like it. It's simple. It's easy. But if I can't view my cards in draft, if I take a break and come back, how the hell am I supposed to remember? Even if that break is, oh man, I need to go to sleep because I've been playing this game for 12 hours. And if I don't get some sleep, the world will end and I won't be able to get up and go to work the next day. I need that kind of thing in my face. So if they bring that fix out, awesome. My other big in-your-face gripe right now, and when you saw, I did show that I had earned the achievement of losing to Puffy the Goldfish. Yeah. I have not actually lost to Puffy the Goldfish. I've played Puffy once, and Puffy went down like a trooper because Puffy really doesn't do anything. And yet, I still got that achievement. How? I logged in to receive that achievement, and that irritates me because it's almost as if they're not double-checking your proper profile versus the code itself. I don't know why that occurred, but that's a bug, and it's a seriously nasty bug because some of the things that you get are rewards for accomplishing stuff, and if people are willy-nilly being handed rewards, even something as simple as losing to Puffy the Goldfish, that's bad form, and it can grow dissension in the community because some people can get their hands on an achievement that they didn't do. And the other thing is they're still getting that bug with the cards.
Yes. So admittedly, it made, like, since last week, there's been more UI changes.
Oh God, yes.
But you still get the bug with the cards. like, Mike! Why would you... There's like nice little arrows now, and there's like mana sort of bar sort of things on the cards, which are awesome. Like, I really like that iteration. But this is bugged. What's going on? Sorry, continue.
I just had a sound thing play with like a little laugh or something. I don't know what caused it, but it came from the game. So there is a sound bug for you. But yes, as far as I'm concerned, there are still bugs. The biggest UI that I have a problem with is the draft UI. Other than that, everything for a user and accessibility is pretty self-explanatory. You know, there's nothing wrong with this. The only other thing I would state is the mentoring program. There needs to be a much more in-your-face way of doing the mentoring programming for people inside the game. I mean, we did a review on it and we talked a little bit about the mentoring program, and it's like, yeah, you can go back and do it this way. And I'm like, it's not clear enough that there is a mentoring program involved in this. It's not clear enough on how to set these things up. And if you are just playing this for the first time and you're going to bring game or your friends into this, you know, there needs to be something a little bit more in your face. So, I mean, the community chat itself is pretty awesome. The people are really, 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 really talkative. I love that, but we'll be getting into all of that stuff later.
Too, which is really weird in a TCG.
It is, but at the same time, it's pretty darn wicked. Hey, someone just got 100 wins against a bot. Congratulations, Real Kenzaburo. And trade is pretty I mean, people are very busy in this, and people will respond to you if you ask questions and things like that. But yeah, in the end, small gripes, but they're there. And if you're going to go gold, please fix that. Please.
Yeah.
Please. So yeah, those are my gripes on that. The optimization is something that usually comes out on the actual release itself. If certain things are not optimized, people are going to have the hatred of the load bar, so to speak. And people are going to have the hatred of the waiting for the connection to occur and logging in, and it takes a while, and it's just...
And these days, we're so spoiled for that.
We are. And it does kind of, in a way, state that maybe we should be a little bit more forgiving of it. But at the same time, if you're going to take that gold status and put it on the game, take the beta tag off, this is the shit we're expecting. And I'm using a very strong word
once you take the beta tag off, it's no longer what you can present to the community. You have to take into account what the community expects.
Exactly.
There's a huge differentiation there.
The mind shifts and changes. So those are my concerns. Now, when it comes to innovation, I'm going to go back and I'm going to simply state I am constantly being drawn back into this game because of the innovative style of play. I am drawn back into this game because I love the concept of commanders. They frustrate the ever-living hell out of me, but I love it. I like how easy it is to actually just go in and play a game. I also like how the board is set up. I like this concept that they've got, but I get so bloody confused with terminology. I'm still learning it, and I've been playing this now for a couple of weeks. But I still get confused with, you know, the battle zone versus other things. But they're making subtle changes. The cards that change the board to lands, or specific types of lands, are exceptionally fun for me now that I understand what the hell is going on, because the information's in the card and it actually gives a really clear definition of what the heck is going on. But in the end, the game has a concept of you versus somebody else. Nothing new. That's a TCG. We're not... We see some cards that kind of hint that there is the possibility for things like two-headed giants, etc. But I've still only seen one game pull off two-headed giants online, and that's actually Magic the Gathering. But, you know, the implication is the target player or something like that. And it makes you kind of think and hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll see multiplayer mode in that manner. We'll see, though. But... it's the real innovation to me is the way that they handle the board with the attack and the defense, instead of like in something like Magic where any card you have down, unless it specifically says it can't attack or defend, you can use for either attacking or defending on your turns. I like that. What really stands out to me, lack of mulligan. That frustrates me, but I love it at the same time because it makes you think about your deck when building it. I like the board. And I like the fact that you can actually pull pieces off of the board and put them into your support zone when you want to pull them out of line of fire or to put them into line of fire. And certain cards actually get a bonus when you do that. And I like that. So I like the board. I like the game. I love the commander system, though I want to punch it in the face sometimes. And I get really frustrated at not really being able to mulligan. But that's where the trading post comes in. And that is still something that I struggle to remember to use. Needs to be more in my face or something, because I know some community members who will sit there and go, I swear by the trading post. And I know others who go, I keep forgetting to use it. The question is, if you don't use that trading post, is that the difference between a win and a loss?
Yeah, it can be a lot of the time. End of the day, your opponent gets to draw more cards than you, or gets to sift through more of their deck, and yeah, they get to do more stuff, and they get more options, and their chances of winning increases. They may not win, but their chances increase.
Very true. So yeah, those are the things that I find innovative about this game. Community stuff is something we'll be discussing next week, so I'm not going to tackle too much into that one. But yeah, what about you, Marsh?
Right.
Marsh is all, so I'm in the middle of a game. Don't bug me.
Marsh was in the middle of the game, but that's okay. We will start with the base, the gameplay board. You know, that's where you see most of the innovation right now, I feel. I like the fact that there's separate zones. Like, I know of a couple of card games that have tried it before and really haven't found a way to make it, like, it's interesting, but they've never found a way to make it effective. Like, it just feels like another complicated layer. I feel as though Infinity Wars has found a way to introduce it. I'm not sure right now whether in the long term it will be effective or just another complication, but I think as it stands right now, it's in a good place. So I'll tick that up in the good section for innovation. I feel having the 3 zones, or technically 4 zones if you count the commander zone, I feel having those zones adds that extra layer of complexity, makes you think a lot harder about how your turn works and what your opponent can do, and engages that sort of reductive reasoning, which is I love that sort of stuff because it's you know, it's basically call my bluff. I love it. I haven't. There's an argument whether, you know, depending on how the metagame evolves, whether it will actually be used or not. But I think something like that might be easy to manipulate based on card choice. But that might be. I'm not 100% sure how you could work that, but I could see a way. Moving on from that, I love the fact that actually the thing that drew me into this game to start with is the fact that so much stuff is animated. Like, just it's a very vain thing. It's very vain, but I like the fact that, you know, I get art and it does stuff and it looks cool and my game board changes. I love that. Admittedly, I'd really like the option to turn it off. I'd like just a checkbox and, you know, stop shit from moving. That'd be great. Because sometimes I'm hungover and I just want to play a few games and stuff moving on my screen's doing my head in. Like, well, that I would like to see. But as it stands right now, you know, I really like the fact that everything's animated and it feels much more visceral. And I love it. It feels like the game's drawing me in. And it's something really simple, or from a design standpoint, not exactly simple, but it's something that you'd think to do. Yeah, well, it's on a computer. Why not make the cards animated, make them look cool? But no one game really does it that well. I think they've done really well with that aspect of it.
Now, see, I agree with that. I want to throw out, because we're talking about the animation games, and I'm just going up against Puffy right now, just throwing cards around because I can. There's one thing that really frustrates the living hell out of me with this game, and I know Marsh is going to agree with me, which is a really rare thing in some cases. I find it incredibly frustrating that I have to click my mouse button repeatedly for every battle that happens, be it from the assault to defense or the defense to the assault or what have you. The fact that I have to sit there and click my mouse repeatedly, like, yes, 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 I know these 6 cards are fighting. Yes, 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 I know that's going to happen. Yes, 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 I know. Yes, yes, now I can do my turn.
Yeah.
I would kind of appreciate, and I don't even think it's in the options.
No, the options are fairly limited. That was my next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's a little frustrating that you have to sit there and keep constantly do that. I mean, spacebar brings up, do you want to end the turn? Yeah, sure, I want to end the turn. But I still have to go through the resolving of things, and it's one of the most frustrating things. So...
And it is. I would like to see a skip. Like, I'm playing another game right now that I can't talk about, but I'm playing another game, and my biggest gripe, like, the game would be okay. It's bad, but it could be okay if it just had a skip button. Like, I value my time highly. I really, really do. And if you're making me sit through a boring lecture, I hate you, and that equates basically to what I'm doing when I'm waiting for stuff to skip. It's like, can't I skip this? Why can't I skip this? Why can't you shut up and just get to the main point, sort of thing. I don't... It makes me sound like a bit of a dick, but end of the day, I just want... I want to skip through all the stuff that doesn't concern me, all the stuff that doesn't impact me, and all the stuff I already know from not having to see the fancy animations. I want the option to skip it. I don't want, you don't have to impose it on everyone. I'd like the option, which brings me to my next bit, which is, I don't understand how you can be so innovative when it comes to design and UI implementation, all that, and sort of take a massive back step when it comes to giving the player options. To me it feels as though they've gone, let's do all this really cool stuff, and then they just totally forgot that people like to have a customizable game experience. I'd like my UI to have a tick box that says stop from moving. I'd like my UI to have a tick box that said, skip all the useless information. I'd like my UI to have a colorblind option. If you're going to go gold, sorry, but I'd like it to have a colorblind option. And
kind of figured you'd bring that up, which is why I didn't mention it.
It's all this stuff. Like, it makes my head hurt. Like, I understand. Like, there's lots of games that don't do options well. But I want a customizable game experience. That's what I want. And to me, Infinity Wars right now, worst offender. Worst, Hearthstone has more options right now. And that's just because I can, change my card back from the interface menu, instead of having to go through a bunch of stuff and buy my card backs and then apply them in my profile, and then, I want... I press my escape button right now, and I can go exit to main menu, restart, I can adjust my music volume, I can adjust my sound volume, which, by the way, I don't have on because it distracts me. But why can't there just be a tick box there? Turn off 3D animation. Skip useless BS.
I really want to
red
see
go
someone
away.
implement something now that says skip useless BS. I think that would be a fantastic option in a game. I do want to point out, though, that you're currently playing a game, so those were your options, and you saw I had that up earlier. I'm outside of a game right now because I purposely went in and lost to Puffy the Goldfish because I wanted, for my own personal knowledge, to know that even though I got the achievement, I still have done it. It was sort of a pride thing. But I'm out of a game and I hit escape, and now I can come to a place that shows me how to do the master and apprentice stuff. And yeah, I currently do have an apprentice, believe it or not. But
me.
No, you're supposed to be my master, and I don't have you as my master in here. So I am going to request you to be my master.
The options are more or less the same, though.
You're Dr. Marshmellows here, right?
Because I went off rambling and I forgot it was timed.
I'm gonna make you my master. So what's your name here?
Okay.
Mine's Pseudo Test. If you want to add me, guys, feel free to do so. Anytime I'm playing, I'm up for a chat or even a
invite.
Oh, you're going to invite me.
Yes, or it's just Dr. Marshmellows, I believe. Pseudo Test is being invited.
And it doesn't show up in my UI. It'll actually show up in my email.
Really?
Yeah. At least I hope it does. But anyway, currently checking my email.
Yeah. Anyway, you probably edit this part out.
No, we're leaving this part in. But yeah, basically, you know, the UI, there are certain things that need to be taken into account when you take that beta tag off, and that's why we're being the critical, literally, that we can be. Do you have an underscore, or you just simply Dr. Marshmellows? Request. I have requested you to be my master. Invitation successful.
Okay, that probably works better.
So you should have an invite from me. Yeah.
I'm sure it will come.
Yes.
But we're getting off topic now.
Which is lovely.
We're so professional.
No, we're not.
We're so professional.
No, we're not. We never ever once believed ourselves to be professional, but yeah. It comes down to, you know, I would not be looking for colorblind options or skipping options, etc. in a beta. I'd say, you know, it'd be nice and useful to have, but if you're going to go alpha, this stuff needs to be there.
You mean if you're going to go release, not alpha?
Yes. Thank you.
But mine just comes down to, I don't care what you put in there, to be honest. Like, I care from a personal standpoint what they put in there. Like, I want my skip BS mode. But I just want to see that they've considered the fact that as gamers, we want a customizable experience, and especially as TCG gamers, we want a custom. Like, I want a button that says block all trades. Like that'd be the nice one as well. Or I'd like a button that says, like, even though it's not even an issue. It's not even an issue. The fact that, you know, I can't block all trades. But I'd like it because I know it can be an issue, and trading is completely not on my list right now. I'd like the option. I'd like to know whether or not I had the option. It's that sort of stuff. Just because you don't use it doesn't
you can't
mean
trade
you're not
until you're level 6
of having it there. I'm okay with that. Like, I have like maybe 6 cards that I could possibly trade, but that's not the point. And my cat is really we almost got through an episode
without your cat.
My cat being insanely vocal.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord, cat.
Wow. Good cat. Meow. Yes. So I agree with your cat.
I may have to move him.
Oh no, just finish.
Please tell me we're going to edit this out.
We'll edit out part of it.
What do you mean no? It's not like we're stretched for content here. We've been talking for an hour and a half.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we really have.
No, we haven't. We're almost at 1 hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Feels like an hour and a half.
Wow, thanks, Marsh. Yes.
You're welcome.
to pretty much sum it up, there are things that we like, there are things we don't like. I stress we. But honestly,
That's the best summation ever.
how
There's good things and there's bad things. Maybe you should try and play it and find out for yourself. We're so good at this.
In fact, if you want to, we've got code down at the bottom. Use it. You get yourself a booster pack. And it's soulbound, but it's still a booster pack.
Oh god, what has happened to us, Pseudo?
You know what's happened
We
to
used to be
us?
so good at this.
We still are.
Okay.
What it comes down to is we've mentioned several things that we like and several things that we do not like. There is a lot of innovation. There's a reason why Marsh and I keep going back to this game other than just simply to review it. I go back to it because I really do enjoy playing it. I go back to it because I find it exciting and I like the concepts that are in place. I, however, still have my gripes and I still have my complaints. And to be honest, I'm going to be really excited to hear from the community what their concerns are with this concept of, do we go gold? Well, we're going gold. Really? Why? Have you fixed the things that are concerns?
It will be interesting in 2 weeks' time when they do release and what comes out and what doesn't, sort of thing. Like, obviously, there's going to be some sort of huge content patch. There would have to be at this point.
There has to be, yes.
But either that won't eventuate and we'll just sort of go, or it will eventuate and we'll have lots to talk about, whether it'll be positive or negative. Who knows?
That's the interesting
but
thing.
In 2 weeks' time, it's going to be very interesting to watch this show. I can guarantee that.
Well, it's going to be really interesting because we are going to see if we can't get a developer to join us for that show. Because our next show is us discussing Community and the TCG. And that is also the show we give our report card for the Infinity Wars, and then we'll start looking at another game. But
yeah, that's right.
If we get a developer,
if we can get that developer on,
they will get a show number 6, and we'll present them our concerns. We'll speak with them about the things that the community has gotten in touch with us about, and we'll give them a platform to speak, and it'll be right on release. So it'll be really interesting. We promise not to bite too much.
And of course, we can't promise anything. We can't promise there's going to be a 6th show. But we're working.
We'll work on that. But, you know, I would love to get a developer on because these are the guys who see the metrics that we don't. These are the guys who understand the cycle and the pipelines they're working in, and we don't. We can speculate. But they can also answer questions that we can only speculate on. And I will tell you of many of the games that we have reviewed here on TopDraw, and there are 4 key games right now that we have looked at TopDraw. This is definitely one of them that I'm going to continue to play even after we finish.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie here.
Are you trying to say I'm lying?
No. I'm just saying that some people say that, you know, reviewers just sort of say stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I'm not like I said, out of all of them, there's one I'm really going to play. This is one of them.
See, on the other hand, it's really, really going to be dependent on what happens at release for me, to be brutally honest. I like Hearthstone, and I barely get a chance to play that. And that's in my TCG rotation, if you will. And this game is going to have to be interesting enough for me to split my Hearthstone playing 5, basically.
That makes sense. I have a lot more time than you do. Really. But yeah, I mean, I look at it from this perspective. I could easily say it's going to depend on what happens at release, but what I have seen of these guys is that they do respond to their community, that changes are being made. I know some people who feel they're not as responsive as they should be or could be, but sometimes that's a perspective thing. And I think for me, no matter what happens, as long as they continue to have an interaction with their community and listen and show through their iterative patches that they are working on and addressing the bugs that are really frustrating, that they are looking at addressing the UI issues that are incredibly frustrating, then I think everything will be fine. I like the concept of this game better than Hearthstone currently?
Oh yeah, so do I. It's just Hearthstone is just flat out easier to play at this point.
It can be.
One, it feels it's. I don't want my gameplay to feel like a chore. If come back to one of my very first topics, if my gameplay feels like a chore, why wouldn't I go play something that doesn't feel like a chore?
Yeah, he makes it.
I can't.
Marsh is
my
lazy.
head hurts. Marsh is incredibly lazy. Marsh doesn't have enough time to screw around with, trying to get stuff perfect anymore. Nah, that's it.
And yet Marsh is still.
You have to work. You have to work for my attention these days.
Oh, this is so true. I speak as someone who spends a day a week at least chatting with you. Hard work. Very hard work. But yeah. As you may have noticed, there's been a transition screen thing. Marsh is gone. I have replaced him with Naudilent from the Infinity Wars TCG Community, someone who has been kind enough to also become a master, and I get to be an apprentice to him. He also has a really squeaky chair. He's going to sort this out as we talk, but don't worry, it'll be fine. What I wanted to do is I wanted to pull his opinions in, because he's actually been following us since we were streaming TopDraw, but now we're pure YouTube. And he's been in touch with us, and I'm like, well, we should play some games together. And then we started talking about the fact that Infinity Wars and Lightmare has decided it is time for us to go gold. So what you're seeing is a transition of Marsh disappearing, Naudilent appearing, and my questions for you in specific are about them making the decision to go gold. Now, one of the things the viewers will notice, as we have mentioned, is Marsh and I both have concerns about them choosing to go gold. So from the community side of things, how do you feel the community is feeling about this decision?
I'd like to say cautiously optimistic, but that in itself is cautiously optimistic.
Interesting.
The announcement, the big surprise, as they termed it before the reveal, it wasn't out of the blue. We kind of knew it was coming. We were just hoping it was going to be something of a maybe more Christmassy date. It caught us by surprise in that it was so soon. And the community has been very vocal in announcing its concerns. Now, it's not unanimous by any stretch. There are a lot of people who are really ready for it to be released, and I think we would all like it to be released and to be out there in the world, because it is a brilliant game. And if the community is very vocal about why maybe now's not the time, it's just because they know the potential this game has. It is a very deeply designed TCG that has its flaws, but overall represents some real innovations in gameplay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So some of the concerns, just looking at a quick list I made up, the trade interface is still, one might generously call it, pre-alpha. There's no search function, for instance. So
wow.
Looking when you initiate a trade with somebody, especially somebody who isn't familiar with that interface, well, it takes some getting used to. It really is junior grade, and
right.
Come on, Lightmare.
Come on, Lightmare.
Really.
We love you, but seriously.
Seriously, it is a trading card game. That is in the very title of the genre that you are in, the trading. It's you might as well release a trading card game and you only play it with dice to have a trade UI of this quality.
Well, one could argue they've got a trading post in the game.
Well, they do have the trading post,
which has absolutely nothing to do with trading cards at all. It's a mill.
Right. Which confused me, actually, when I first started playing, and I saw this trading post in the game, and I'm like, oh, what, you trade in the middle of the game?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I never touched it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to touch it.
But they changed it to the supply depot.
I know.
So
I'm glad we made mention of that a couple episodes ago, but you know.
So yes, the trade UI. The bugs, you can't get through without talking about the bugs.
We hit that one.
Proliferative, and every time you stomp a few out, a few more creep in. Currently, Lightmare are very deeply focused on that aspect of the product. They do seem to be putting forth a good faith effort, and they need to. If they're going to release the game next week, they need a big patch that not only does a comprehensive rundown of clearing away the bugs, but they need to minimize the introduction of new ones, because it's a complicated game.
It is.
And there are very complicated interactions between the cards, and cards like Cressel, who, when he goes to the graveyard, gets rid of both players' hands, or Evolving Parasite, which kills whoever it fights and then becomes that card. They're broken, and I don't know how these things happen, but those are a couple of the new bugs that were released when the old bugs were quashed. So that really needs to be dealt with, and that does seem to be their priority right now.
Well, I think they're going to fix their bugs. I mean, this is one of the things that we have at least noticed about them, is they're consistent with their updates. They may not always fix every single thing that comes out, but the development processes are difficult. And they are an independent studio, so hats off to them for taking on...
They're a small independent
studio. They're a very small independent studio, and you got to give them credit for that. I think the real big one change that I really want to see them do, and I stress this, potentially later or potentially earlier, depending upon how I slice this particular section in. But one of the things I really want them to change is the draft interface. I want to know what cards I've got. I mean, I want to know what commanders I have. I want to be able to look back and go, I made a mistake there, or, ooh, I really like the interactions between those cards. But I can't, because it requires knowing what the pictures are. And then I spend all my time trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing.
Yes, you draft your deck, and you choose the cards. It's draft at least, I would say, is one of the more stable, positive aspects of the game over time.
Well, it's what will keep a game going, because that's where meta really starts to get challenged, because people will see a whole new interaction and go, "Oh, I should put that in constructed."
Yes, but once you build your deck, though, you look at it and you see the pictures. You can't click on the cards to see what they are, to remind yourself of what they do. You actually have to go into a game. So it's on-the-job training for how to use your Rift deck as you're learning. Now later on, you learn the cards as best you can, and it does become easier, but when new players come into the game and ask, should I start trying draft? Generally, the answer is no. No, it takes a little time to get used to cards, and to know what you're in for when you're going into draft. And certainly, my early drafts were pretty terrible. And also, as a free-to-play game, you get a goodly amount of cards. I consider Lightmare to be fairly generous in that regard. But in draft, you can come up against anything, and you're not going to have that card awareness that's going to lead to greater success. So, yes, it would be nice, and one would think, given that any place else in the game you can click on a card and bring it up, it would be nice if they implemented that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think... This is one of the big concerns we've brought. We want them to be successful. We're concerned because there are several things lacking. Draft is such a core part of TCGs, especially for experienced TCG players. It's where they get their chances to shine, their chances to really test things. And we here, at least at TopDraw, stress if you're starting to get into a TCG, you want to go play draft, because that's where you really do learn the card interactions. Because you're forced to do things that you might not normally do. You have to think outside of the box. It's a really good teaching mechanic. But, all it really comes down to is the big concern with the concept of going gold almost so soon is there still seems to be so much not finished. Marsh, for example, brings up Nightmare in hard mode is not available in campaign yet. Right. What happens if the AI is crap?
Yes, the AI. Well, the AI is crap. Now, the campaigns as designed. I'm a professional bot slayer because I make so many decks and I'll throw them up against bots and such just to fiddle around with them. And the bots, not only are they not very bright, but they also cheat. They're able to bring out multiple unique characters at once, which really confuses new players.
That's
really
what that was.
Yes.
Okay, see.
So you can have multiple Agent Coil fire starters or Zunshins out if you're the AI, but a player trying to do that, so it's confusing. And I do think as much as they've adjusted the training, the academy, the campaigns, a lot of it's confusing because they don't act like a normal game. And I do think that new players can be confused by that. And having watched a lot of streamers, I'm one of several guys who really likes to find streamers who are new to the game and jump in and chat with them. Yeah,
that's how I met you.
Yeah, and talk about it. I've seen how confused even some very bright players, experienced game players, get when they run into Infinity Wars. And I think on the long laundry list of features that need to be added is maybe a somewhat better tutorial. I think they've made some improvements. I actually made recently a little alt character just to kind of see where things have come from the time I started about 6 months ago now, and it does seem better to me.
I have to just throw out here. You've been playing this for 6 months. You have 80 decks, 80 decks.
Something about like that, yeah.
And you've now made an alt.
Right, yes. Well,
so
yes, I know.
This is where I sit here and I just go, wow, that's insane. But also it shows that, and it's something I had made mention of to you before. And we'll get into this next week, folks, because we are going to be incredibly lucky. Naudilent is joining us for the entire episode next week, which is actually where we discuss community in the card games. And not only will Naudilent be with us, but Naudilent is going to be there while Marsh and I give out our scorecard for Infinity Wars.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah, so by the way, if you happen to know Naudilent in the community and you want to make certain that he brings a very specific point to us, because if all goes well, there will be actually a 6th episode where we actually have a developer join us from Infinity Wars, and we'd love to bring any thoughts or questions and things you have. Send them to Naudilent.
Yes, please, you can contact me in-game or through
his name is
community message.
He's over there. His name is underneath there, so yes, definitely do that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yes, so...
I just had some brilliant points to raise. Now it's lost for all time. Yes. I'm not a dirty botter, by the way. I don't play against my little alt thing. I just made it to just kind of see where things stood as far as new players coming in. So other than maybe collecting my 2 cards for logging in for posterity, I don't mess around with it. You'll find me as Naudilent in the game.
Yes. But yes, I think in the end, what it comes down to is the community is a bit concerned about it going gold. But I think from everything that, and unfortunately you haven't had a chance to hear everything that Marsh and I have said, but I think from everything that we said, there is a possibility for them to do it right. Will they though? Well, I guess we'll see next week, won't we? Yeah,
and not just to do it right, but to let the gaming world know that they're doing it right.
Yes.
The marketing of the game, it seems very vague, very sketchy at this point. And while they talk about marketing towards hardcore players, well, yeah, it's very word of mouth. It seems to be how a lot of new players enter the game. Outside of things like when Steam was released on Steam, and that's how I found out about it. And I was really just growing into this point. I wanted some surrogate for Magic. I'd been looking for a Magic surrogate, and Duels of the Planeswalkers wasn't cutting it. I wasn't about to get Magic Online, really. I didn't want to get back into Magic. I just wanted something Magic-like, and this was it. And it does fill that role admirably. It's a great game. But is anybody going to know about it?
I think that's one of the things, actually, this week on the Data Mine, which is our Thursday show about independent development, we have a third-party publisher coming on to talk about what it's like to try to do the marketing sides of games, how to pull things together. And I'll be throwing, a situation of, well, what if you're an independent TCG? How's the best way to get the word out on that one? And we'll see what ends up happening there. But for the most part, let me just at least say thank you, Naudilent, for coming on and talking with me. I'm now probably going to do some kind of mystical, magical, timey-wimey, warpy thingy and bring Marsh back in.
Timey-wimey, I like it.
Timey-wimey, it's wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yes.
That's what we do here at TopDraw. But I will have you next week, and you'll be joining Dr. Marsh and I, and we'll be talking community. We'll be talking about that because I firmly believe no matter how good a game is, the community will either kill a game or it will help it survive.
And I do believe the community we have is strongly geared to helping IW survive.
It is. This, as Marsh and I have said, or have not said yet, but will say when we go back to it, so confusing with the time manipulation thing that I'm doing here. As we've said, this is one of those communities that has completely shocked the two of us with just how not only friendly, but supportive it is. And there's something to be said for that. So all of that will be next week. But until then, back to the original me, which was recorded pre-time, but it will be put in post-time, and thus it will be all crossing the streams and stuff like that. But again, thank you.
You're very welcome. Glad to be a part of it.
But to basically keep it real, this is Dr. Marshmellows doing the awesome stuff. And I am Pseudo.
DFTPA?
What?
No, we can't do that.
Do what?
Yeah, no. DFTBA. You don't know where that's from? I'm so saddened by you.
Oh, great. I'm so going to get trolled for this. But anyway, toodle pip, guys. And thank you so much for your feedback. Remember, leave more below, both good and bad. We want to grow, and we can only grow with you. And that sounds like a really, really bad advertisement. I don't mean it in that.
It sounds like something from a self-help CD. I love it. I love it.
Yes, help us to help you. Help us to help you. Help us to help you.
Help us help you.
And if you guys who are fans of the show actually know where that's from, put it in the comment below and I'll get you something special. First person who gets it. But anyway.
Nice clarification.
Bye.